When you talk about like our four pillars as an offense, protect the football, assert our dominance, precise execution, and maximum effort. That number two, those big boys do it every day, and I see it every single day.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. That was J.J. McCarthy, Michigan quarterback on the Big Ten Network, as the Big Ten Network was in Ann Arbor. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today with former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli, who took some of that coverage in for the Big Ten Network as they were at practice and talking with a lot of the coaches and players just a couple days ago. Scar, how are you?
I'm great, Danny. When you hear our quarterback recite those four things with such confidence, he hears them on a daily basis. He knows it inside out. Jim is hammering on those things, and that's what's great is you know every coach gets you have your basic foundational beliefs that you instill in your team, and obviously JJ has heard those four things over and over, and it is what we are on offense. It's great stuff.
Jim Harbaugh has got this thing. I don't know what it's like to be a head coach, Scar, or I don't know what it's like to be the maestro that gets up there in front of the orchestra and he's got that little stick, and he's over there and he gets into it and everybody's playing along and everybody's playing off of one another. Right now, it just seems like that's what Harbaugh is doing here. He's got this thing. He's the head coach. All of the stuff that he's ever wanted is in place. Now you got to go through the season. They're halfway through training camp as we get closer to that first game. But man, it's extraordinary. When you listen to the players and the coaches and just where they're at right now, things are looking good.
Yeah, hey, we're confident in that number one ranking, and we've got good players, and everybody sees it, and the team feels it, and knows it, and understands it, and we just got to do it now. Just got to do it. Keep our quarterback healthy, just keep doing the things we do, and hopefully these players will play like we think they're going to play.
Slight adjustment.
Those four pillars, Denny,
yeah.
Secure the ball, assert our dominance, precise execution, and maximum effort. Just want to repeat it again. Great stuff, Coach Harbaugh.
Wow, you just rattled, just ripped that right off. You know it. Those things have been around, huh? Yeah, you're always talking about protecting the football. You're big on that number one pillar. That one stayed for as long as Michigan's been playing football. That pillar has been there, right?
Oh, it was the number one thing Coach Schembechler talked about every time, all day long, man. Defensively, we got to get the ball away from him. Offensively, secure the ball. And Denny, listen, you've got the things on here. Offenses, I don't want to defend. I've coached defense for 25 years, played a long time. And the number one thing you don't want to defend is a team that is secure, that secures the football. They know how to secure it. They know what they're doing. Their quarterback is smart. So let's just, as I go through the things I don't want to defend, ask yourself, is Michigan these things? Securing the ball. I don't want to defend a team that secures it. So that's obviously what Jim talked about. You don't want to defend a team that has great talent, size, speed, etc. We got that. We got size, speed, talent. Great technique. Jim talks about that as this thing, precise execution, same kind of thing. Great technique. Offensive linemen that block low. Backs that know how to block with great technique. Those are the things. I played against teams that had great players, but their linemen are high. They don't pull sharp. They're not, they just don't do the little things from a technique. Sharon Moore, our coach, has got our guys playing with great technique. And the big one, number 4, and this encompasses a lot of stuff, and this is where we've been beating people, is scheme. Okay, Denny, scheme encompasses a lot of stuff, and we've been good with this. Michigan has been real good. Scheme encompasses, in my opinion, snap count. Some guys are unable to go and change the snap count. Michigan does it. We get people to jump off sides. I played on a state championship team, Denny. We went on 1 all year long because every time we tried to go on 2, someone would jump off sides. We just said the hell with it. But that was the belief system of our coach. But you can win with it, but you don't. Anyway, snap count is important. Formations. I love that Jim Harbaugh has always been a formation guy. Formations give the defense problems. You make them think about lining up and adjusting. So all this is under scheme, snap count, formations, motions. Jim's a big motion guy. shifting. We shift tight ends. We shift linemen. We shift backs. All that stuff gives headaches to the defense. Okay, and I've defended again, but then at the same time, I've defended guys that ran one formation the whole game, and they were really, really good at that one formation. They didn't make any mistakes. So the key is to run stuff to give the defense problems, but don't make mental mistakes. You follow me? So I got formations, I got motions, I got shifting, deceptions, and smart stuff, but conflict. That you want conflict that puts the defense in conflict, and so that's scheme encompasses a lot of stuff. The pace of the game, that's why these guys are going so fast. So the defense can't substitute. Cost us the Michigan State game over there a couple years ago. We didn't get our guys in. They deceptively screwed us there. We didn't get the right personnel, and so I think we've done a good job with scheme. And that's coaches. Our coaches got to be great this year. We just can't run the same stuff all the time. We fooled Penn State with a lot of stuff last year. We got to have some different and I'm going to show a couple plays, some things we did that we hadn't done all year for Michigan State. And then the last thing, and Jim's got it, he talks about maximum effort. I got being a competitor, compete like hell. So those are my 5 that I don't want to face. And I think Michigan is hitting it. And it's interesting, my 5, because I looked at it as a coach. And it's, a lot of the same stuff Jim talks about.
I love it. And Scar, you went through a lot of what was going on there, and you went with number 2. We'll ask you some other areas of interest. You already said you'll throw some video up there. What about the Big Ten Network? They were in town. I would say, just to kick things off here, is that I thought they did a fabulous job. They talked to J.J. McCarthy, Sherrod Moore, Jesse Minter, Jim Harbaugh, Will Johnson, Rod Moore. I don't think I'm missing anybody. I think that was it. What did you think of the Big Ten Network stop in Ann Arbor?
It was great. It was great. A little too much JJ, man. Denny, when I talk to the media guys as a coach, all they want to talk about are the running backs and quarter. As the leader, you got to just divert the attention to your offensive linemen, your defensive tackles. You got to get them talking. You got to give love to other guys. I know Jim likes to do that, but sometimes you got to divert there. You got to take the media guys and say, hey, what about these tight ends? What about these linebackers? Anyway, yes, it was great. And Coach DiNardo is my – listen, I go back 40 years with Coach DiNardo. He recruited me to go to Eastern Michigan a long time ago. He was in my living room. So I really like listening to Coach DiNardo. He's a smart guy. He was a head coach at 3 different places. But he talked about the multiple looks. And I've always been talking like this, Danny, how Michigan's offense helps our defense. And he said it again, that the multiple looks that we get, that our offense does, it helps our defense. So, we run everything. We run spread. We run the physical stuff. So that was good to hear. Listening to Jesse Minter, people got to understand this. As good as it is that Jesse Minter has year 2, Danny, under his belt, now he knows the Big Ten, he knows his players, he feels comfortable, right? But the downside is, and I know this as a coach, is people have a book on him now. Okay, he was different than McDonald. I mean, our basic structure defensively was real similar to McDonald, okay, our base belief system. But there were tweaks and there was adjustments and there was some things that he did differently, which was good than McDonald. So this year, guys are going to have a little bit of a book on him in terms of how he likes to attack. So that's another something I looked at from that standpoint. Any thoughts on what I covered so far?
Yeah, I like it. I also thought, Minter saying that they're emphasizing pass rush. And he mentioned a couple different guys that stood out to me. Rayshon Benny was one, and Keon Sabb being the other when I listened to him. But I would, when you're the Big Ten Network and you pay $50 million a year to get those television rights, and you're the producer, they say, who do you want to talk to? They're not going for the defensive tackle and offensive lineman. They're saying, we want J.J. McCarthy and we want Blake.
I know.
We want Blake Corum. It doesn't matter what the coaches wanting to bring on the safeties and the corners and everything. So I know that's just how it works.
I get it, man. But you, as a coach, you got to keep giving love to those guys that go and get their name called. Some other things about that. What did Coach DiNardo? This was really impressive because to hear it from Coach DiNardo, he thought the Michigan offense and defense. He thought our line of scrimmages on both sides of the ball were the best in the Big Ten last year. Not just the offense, but the defense too. That's about coaching. That's about philosophy. That's about technique. That's about weight room. And to hear that from I agree with him too. And to hear that from him, that's good. They talked about beating our rivals, and I forget who said it, but you want to come out with no questions. I think it was Minner that said you obviously you go into your scrimmages. They're going to have some big scrimmages as they lead up to the first game, and you want to have everything hammered out, and you don't have questions. But one last thing about, I don't know how it relates to this, because we were talking about different coaches in the Big Ten. I'm glad Scott Frost is gone, and I'm glad Jeff Brom is gone, because those two guys, Danny, offensively, were headaches. And I think when we got Purdue and Nebraska on our schedule, I don't care who their offensive coordinators are, they're not going to be as good as Brom and Frost. So I'm glad those two guys are gone. I just wanted to throw that out.
Good stuff. The punters, like the Big Ten Network, saying that the team practice seemed more physical than the other teams that they observed. And Richard adding that he liked last year the Big Ten Networks picked Michigan as the best and most talented team in the country. I also thought that the couple other things that stood out, Richard liked the Sharon Moore interview. Jake Butt, who we know had all of those different knee injuries that cost him, cut his NFL career short. He was watching Blake Corum, and Harbaugh said on that telecast that Corum was bigger, stronger, and faster, which is all kind of stuff that you want to hear. But then Jake Butt said he was watching him and knowing what it's like to come back from those knee injuries, said he liked the different cuts that he saw, the unplanned ones, and just talking about that recovery from the knee injury. I like that. And then Howard Griffith, sometimes you just hear guys say, like, these guys, it's just interesting to hear what they have to say. One time he was like, hey, Roman Wilson remind him of Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, how he went over the middle and, grabbed the ball. So you like that. I also like Jake Butt talking about McCarthy looking more confident. And then, last year seeing, he'd go his one read, then his second one, and then he might just take off. And he said this year, what he's seen so far is that he's going through the progression, and then instead of taking off running, maybe coming down back to a backside read or something, more comfortable in the offense. Stuff that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, the game slows down, Danny, the more reps you get. But yeah, that was interesting. Jim is old school. He went through what we went through, and both, we believed in hitting to get ready to play. But at the same time, he's not. That's the big question mark as a coach, man. Is how much hitting do you do? You need to get the hitting in, but you don't want to beat them up. So obviously, I'm hoping the Big Ten Network was there on one of the days that we really got after it, and that other days Jim is being smart. He knows what the hell he's doing. He's not going to beat them up. But yeah, you got to get after it at times. You can't play around and slop around and try to keep everybody healthy and not get them game ready, because you got to get into some serious physical practices to get ready, game ready.
Yeah, well, they had goal line, short yardage situation with the guys. Big Ten Network was there, and Harbaugh was talking about that. And they were going back and forth about the offense or defense, as well as much as they like the depth, and it gets talked about a lot with the offensive line. The defensive line looked like they got the better of the offensive line, at least a little bit. And there were some good things. Harbaugh yesterday gave an update. He was they were talking about the team midway through fall camp and everything. And, he pointed out that Donovan Edwards, maybe on kick return. I thought that was exciting. And then, he also talked about, I asked him, I was down there, so I said, hey, after Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson, what's the vibe in that wide receiver room? And he pointed out the three freshmen. And then Sharon Moore on that Big Ten Network talked about all three of those freshmen. And then Will Johnson was asked about the wide receivers and covering them. And he said, these guys in the slot and everything else. And he said, boy, these three freshmen, you could just see it by the look on your face. So you're talking about Samaj Morgan, Frederick Moore, and what's the Carmelo English.
Yeah. Danny, that's
nice.
You hear
all.
it from the coach, and then you also hear it from one of the players. That's great news for Michigan, that they can see it. The players can see it. Hey, these guys can play because you know I could tell right away as a former as a player when you go against them freshmen, you could tell the first freaking day if this kid can play. I knew day one Mark Mesner was going to be a hell of a football player.
Day one.
When he came on, I knew day one the kid was going to be a good player. Because he was an outside backer initially, but yeah, Denny, I don't know if you had it, but these are the things I want to see from that first game. You want me to jump into that real quick?
Yeah.
Denny, things I really want to find out. I'm interested to really see is I want to see the center. Jim talked about the and he talked about the Michigan way. That was the Michigan method of it.
Michigan method. That's right.
And that was a great thing. He said other coaches are doing it and thinking about, hey, let this guy start the first game, let this guy start the second game. And it's so he feels the center position is up for grabs. So I'm going to be watching the heck out of that position because he feels it's up for grabs. But at the same time, they got the Stanford kid up for the all Big Ten. So they obviously have a feel for where he is. So I'm going to be watching center, and then the tackle position is up for grabs. And Jim talked about all those guys. And that's one thing as a coach, you can't leave out names when the media is asking. Because when you leave out certain names, the kid's like, hey, he didn't even mention my name. And that matters. So you sometimes it's on purpose, whatever. But yeah, he didn't mention some names, but he mentioned all those tackles. So like we got 5 of them that can compete in there. So we're going to be looking at that. I'm going to be watching tight ends because I want to see which of them guys can block and are we going to throw to all of them. So first game, I want to be able to run behind all of them and throw to all of them. So I'm looking at that. Okay, number 7 talked a bit about being able to do. He's watching Corum with the jump cut. I think that's the thing that sets Corum apart. Denny, is his ability to make those jump cuts and make linebackers miss right in the hole. So hopefully Donovan can get that in his package. And I'm really looking at seeing Mullins on third down. We want to know who the 3rd, 4th, 5th receiver is. That's something I'm looking at. And then I want to know. I believe in Tuttle as our backup quarterback, and that's just my gut going in. And I want to feel really, really confident as a Michigan fan. That's where we are with that. We're solid and confident with him. If something goes down, he can go into East Lansing and we can beat him with him. So those are the things I'm looking for offensively. That's what I want to see in the first game.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. The Michigan method. Yeah, and on the defensive side, he mentioned the edge, how they'll probably have 2 different starters in game 1 from game 2, and also the corner. So those are the other things that we'll be able to watch for the Michigan method from game 1 to game 2. So here you go. You got tackle, center, edge, and corner. And the thing is, as we know with offensive line, it's like the quarterback. It's not like you can be rotating, tackles left and right. You have to find your best 5 by game 3 and go with it. So that's going to be very interesting to see. You get one guy getting beat over there, people are going to be like, oh, no. So it's going to be fun to be able to go through that.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for from a player standpoint, from a team, offensive team standpoint. Obviously, we want to secure the football. I'm looking for that, number 1. Okay, I want to be able to run our best stuff, but we can't force it. Listen, if I'm ECU and I'm got to face Michigan, I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm going to do everything I can to take away their power and their inside-outside zone. I'm starting with that. So they may overcommit to that, but I'd still like to be able to run our best stuff against them, but we got to take what they give us. So that's something there. But running our best stuff is important to me. I want to come out healthy. We want to win the game. And you want to play 50 guys on offense. Those would be my key. Those would be my goals offensively is play 50 guys on offense and then get some of those questions answered.
That's why Jim Scarcelli is here, running it down, getting ready for that first game. And to this point, I see Alex Orji's name coming up here. Gary talking about Cole Cabana. Harbaugh mentioned the different players on punt return and also kick return. Kick return was a little bit of a surprise. He did not mention Cabana, but he did mention Alex Orji. He said he could be, I'm paraphrasing, he could be the greatest ever, as a kick returner. So they just put him over there. Must have made a number of plays. Also, a guy that you've mentioned a few times, Khalil Mullings over there on kick return as well. I don't know if there'll be the deep deep guys, but maybe the second guys over there. But he did, if there was, I don't know if it's a negative, one thing that he's looking to improve on is blocking on kick return. So something to clean up, to emphasize.
It's hard, Danny. It's a hard thing to do, blocking a guy on kick return, because they got 10 real fast headhunters down there, and you got to be able to run and run with these guys. It's kick return is a tough thing to do, but that would be great to see Orgy get in the game like that. Jim was on special teams with the Bears back in the day. Dick could put him in there, so he ain't afraid to do that. To get
what is a holder?
He was on punt coverage or something. Jim, he had him in there. Ditka had him in there doing something.
That sounds, I never heard that before. Well, yeah, well, so many times you're watching punt return and kick return, and the guy breaks one and you see the flag. And man, being able to put your hands up and just get in front of a guy without hitting him in the back, finesse, practice, all the things.
We work on all that. And, punt, I want a guy that can catch the darn punt. And he's trying a lot of guys. And you got to be able to catch the ball in front of 110 on national television with guys coming down to smoke you. So that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, JP heard about the whispers about Alex Orgy, and that's what Harbaugh, he said it yesterday about Orgy as he said on kick return specifically, but they're going
to have a package for him, Danny. I don't know. I'm just going with my gut, and if I had to play, if something happened right away, I think you would see Tuttle in the game just because of his experience. That's my gut. We'll see how it plays out. The Michigan method might change things after the game. Doing Orgy or the Davis kid, Warren kid might. Who knows? And I like what Jim's doing there, because there's nothing like game. Some guys are just gamers, man. Some guys are gamers, and you got to. And that's where you got to go.
Yeah, well, and another name. I'll put a couple more names on there, and then we'll get to the video analysis. There, Keyshawn Harris, who is a walk-on and is a DB, is a name that was thrown out a number of times, whether it was punt return or also the depth at corner there. It's at least one of those names to look at. Harbaugh also asked about other freshmen other than the trio of wide receivers that have been impressive. It was surprising to me that he went to Cameron Brandt and Roderick Pierce III. I think Trey Pierce is what he goes by. And then also Eno Etta. So three guys on the interior of the defensive line that he likes. So Mason Graham made a move last year, but three players that he also liked there. So I did like to hear that. Here's a final feedback question, Scar. And OT said he always thought Barnhart was going to be there at left tackle because of his chemistry. But he is. There sure seems like there's a lot for Henderson to overcome. When we're going to see both of those guys in the first two games, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's because I stood next to that Henderson kid. It's in the spring, and we watched Barnhart. So yeah, they're both very good looking, impressive looking athletes, and it's a great. Jim said it right, man. He's got 10 guys that can start. And it's a great thing. You go through the brutality of a Big Ten season and all the physicality we ask of our offensive linemen. You better have 10 of them. And that's where we can beat the Michigan States late in the year and the Penn States late in the year when we got more depth that we've built and developed. Danny, real quick, I just want to throw this out. I watched Stroud play in his first start.
Yeah,
I don't think he looked very good. And I'm because they had him under center, they had him doing things. I just think the Michigan, just throwing it out there, the Michigan offense prepares a guy better for NFL football. I don't know if he hasn't. The kid didn't do much of that at Ohio State. I just wanted to say that that maybe the Michigan under center pro style stuff prepares a kid better for for pro football. But we'll look at some video real quick. Go ahead. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, hey, I was just going to say, if you're a high school quarterback, go to Michigan if you want to.
That's my program there. Hey, Denny, I looked at some. We got some more stuff to look at. Nothing but the best against these guys. This is Michigan State, and here's Rock and Rod Moore. Okay, and Denny, where the heck is my? You got the screen in front of my control deal here.
This part of this thing.
Yeah, can you move? This is something we're trying to we have a new system here, Quick Kick, and I can't get to my.
Oh, I can take our pictures down as well.
Yeah, take them down, Danny. There you go. Now we're rolling. All right, let's. What happened here? What's going on here? Why is it not playing?
Well, we're just trying it out for the first time.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on, Danny.
I'm gonna have you look over there. Well, that's all right.
Let's. Now I can't even move it back.
How about try taking it down, putting it back up one more time.
Go ahead, let's go. Why don't you talk about something else as we're rolling here? And
all right, I do have something that I wanted to tell everyone. Two things while you take a look at it. One is that if you want to know about what's going on at practice and those scrimmages and recruiting on the basketball front, on the football front, maybe you're worried about some guys decommitting, maybe going to Kentucky, stuff like that. You want transfer portal news? Well, you join the Maize and Blue Review today. Go to michigan.rivals.com. That's the way you get it done and getting all the latest news. Also, coming up on Sunday, Reno's Hot Dog Stand and Catering. The guys are going to be out in Holly at the Holly Farmers Market this Sunday. So if you're around Holly, head to the farmers market this Sunday, check out the guys and go up to them and say, hey, good afternoon. Michigan football sent us, and they will hook you up. So that's it. That's what you want to see. I'll take some of the feedback. Scar, you just tell me.
Yeah, we're ready, Danny. We'll take a look.
We're ready.
You see, that's coaching. That's football, man. You got to be on. You got to adjust. Anyway, we got some. I got some Michigan State here. Let's take a quick look. This was stuff we put in just for them. We never showed this formation all year. These are the things we worked on in the spring. We're saving stuff for these guys. We hate these people. We got to give them problems. We're running quorum on the jet sweep. Okay, and we got to have stuff just for them. The game is that important. So anyway, stuff for the Spartans, stuff for the Buckeyes. I just wanted to take a peek because the in that game, in that football game, the defenses are at a disadvantage. Okay, so here's another play. Here's some more stuff in this game against them. And Danny, I wanted to point this out because this is why we need all these tight ends. You got to this is Scooney last year. Okay, why we need 5 tight ends? This is a physical block. You know, we talk about the physicality of this game, and see how he's got to take on this defensive end here. You see him going in motion and kicking out that defensive. I mean, that's a 300-pound kid. That defensive end. You see it there, Denny?
Yeah, I do. That's the perfect technique is the way you got it. He got it.
He's but my point is those are heavy hitting collisions, and you have to have other bodies for that. You have to have bodies that can do that. I got Donovan Edwards here again and empty. I'm surprised that, if I tell you, people are going to look at Michigan and they're going to hey, anytime Michigan goes empty, they're looking for number 7. So I bet you people start putting safeties and not linebackers on him this year. Denny, I think that's a lot of adjust people do is they'll put a linebacker on Donovan Edwards, but I mean, that's the first guy JJ looks at. So I just have a feeling this year, people are going to really prepare for Michigan when we go empty. And it's a great problem. But now you know what? Maybe we got to go to that third receiver. Well, where's the linebacker? They still got to have a linebacker in the game. You know what I mean? You follow me?
Well, yeah. Hey, maybe you put him back in the backfield and say, hey, now we're going to run the ball at you. You guys are a little.
There you go. But anyway, you're gonna find that linebacker. Hey, I want to thank Danny. We got this new. I'm going to get better at it. We want to thank our friends at Quick Cut. Got this tool I'm using here. I'm going to perfect it. We're in spring training too, just like the players, right? Yeah. You got to get ready. I got to get ready to figure out how to use this stuff. I'm going to leave you on this play, Denny. This is 94 and 58 stuffing dudes against our hated enemy. And Who's going to replace Mozzie Smith? The dude was outstanding. You know, watch this play here. You know, this was a huge play in that game. He just manhandles. He's manhandling the center. And then you watch the freak down here. You know, what's his name? Feldberg. He had the freaks.
Feldman
had the freaks, and he had Jenkins on there. Look at what Jenkins does to this guard. Throws him away and makes a play. This stuff is so hard to do. Jenkins is right here. You know, so hard to do. Punch, and then throw a 300-pound guy away and make a tackle. You kidding me? So we had the two best in the Big Ten last year, Denny. Those two were the two best in the Big Ten last year. And are we going to get it again? Is Mason Graham going to step up and give it to us again? I wanted to leave on that play. It was a great play. And we're always thinking about these guys. We hate these people. And we're always thinking about them. And you got to always prepare and work thinking about those I can't cuss on this show, so I'll just leave it at that. Those guys up in Lansing. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay. That's probably the best way to do it. Scar, I am heading to yesterday I went to Ann Arbor. I went to Schembechler Hall, and there he was, Jim Harbaugh. And now I'm going right back today. They've got players that are going to be there. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short so I can head down and, you know, maybe it'll be Mason Graham. Maybe it'll be Chris Jenkins will be up there. We'll see. And always great to have you on here. Thanks so much. And we look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, Danny, make it happen there. Go Blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Thanks for watching.